All right, good evening. We're going to call tonight's Finance Committee meeting to order for this July the 19th, 2021. We're going to change up our order from here on out. So we're going to start out tonight with invocation led by myself, and then we have the flag salute led by Mayor Marlon Coleman, if you'll stand at this time for our invocation. Dear Lord, we come thanking you once again for the gift of another day. Thank you for blessing us with your grace, your mercy, and your love. Just ask that you would just look upon our community on today. Bless all the citizens in our community. Bless the leaders as we come together tonight to discuss city business. We want everything to be done in your will and in your way. Just bless us and keep us in your love and kindness, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now down to the agenda items. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of June 21st, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Reviewing the minutes, are there any additions or corrections to our minutes?
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our Finance Committee minutes. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments June 12th, 2021 through July 9, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, the Purchasing Committee did meet this afternoon, and we recommend approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of an addendum to the water purchase agreement dated June 8, 2020 between the City of Muskogee and the Muskogee County Rural Water District Number 1 in Oktahoma, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, what you have before you is an amendment to the contract we have to sell water with Rural Water District Number 1. They have requested to increase the amount of the maximum water available that we sell from 10,694 units to 12,694 units, which is an increase of about 20%. 2,000 units is the equivalent to about 1.3 million gallons per month. The need for the increase in usage is due to some development that they're having in the Oktahoma area. Currently, they have almost reached their maximum amount at least 2 times within the last 3 months, and so they reached out to us to request to increase the amount. We did talk with our friends in the water treatment plant to see if that would have any measurable impact on production, and so we were told that it would not. And so with that, we do recommend approval of the addendum to the existing contract, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tucker?
Will there be additional costs, Roy?
They only pay for the water that they use. Okay. And so if they use more water, they pay more, obviously. The reason for the request is because if they exceed the maximum, then they pay twice the rate. Okay. And so they're trying to not pass that on to their customers. So that's why they've asked for an increase in their maximum. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval to receive donated funds for the months of January, February, March, April, and May 2021 for a total of $5,869 for the city's animal shelter sponsorship program as per the attached list, or take other necessary action.
Tyler?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For the months of January through May, we had a total of $5,869 donated to animal shelter, a little over 100 donations that help operate the shelter, help pay for the spay and neuters, help for equipment, supplies, food, so on and so forth. We're very grateful for these donations that we receive, and we recommend approval to accept these donations on behalf of the animal shelter.
Move for approval?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes, and with that item passing, that is our final item for finance.
Okay, welcome to tonight's Public Works Committee meeting for July 19th of 2021. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of June 21, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Move for approval?
Second.
Roll call. Or any discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of task authorization number 1 for the Master Professional Services Agreement with Freeze and Nichols as part of the Master Drainage Plan, or take other necessary action.
Mike Stewart.
Yes, Madam Chairman and committee, as you remember, you did authorize us to enter into an agreement. You authorized the city manager to enter into an agreement with Freeze and Nichols. And what we have brought before you today is task order number 1, which will be the first thing that they perform in this agreement. And Jeff Reeves is going to give me an assist with it. He's going to explain task order number 1 to you.
Good evening. Freeze and Nichols will be evaluating the city as a whole. There will be 8 watersheds associated with the study. Virgil Creek, North Main, Hyde Park Creek, East Shawnee, Stream C and C1, Cootie Creek, Porter Creek, and Sam Creek. Freeze and Nichols has met with our team several times to acquire input related to the localized flooding in the city. They will be conducting GIS data collection and analysis, hydraulics and hydrology analysis, and design modeling for review and planning. We are currently requesting funding to begin the process, which is identified as task 1. This task is described as data collection, which will be report, plan review of as-builts from previous projects in the city, field drainage assessments, GIS data, existing modeling, and field surveys.
All right.
The Meadows and Eagle Crest and repeated flooding areas will be evaluated. The deliverables for this model will be D2 model to document where the city's worst problems are located and prioritize planning for future projects. This will be funded from the Stormwater Fund for $50,000, and we are anticipating this task will take 90 days to complete. Staff does recommend approval, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
On this drainage program, if I recall right, I thought Eagle Crest was supposed to be number 1 priority as far as the first thing they check.
Will be one of the many that they're going to check. They're going to check the city as a whole.
This is the first task order. This is the first job that they've been assigned, yes. And as you know, we're already working out there to alleviate existing problems. And what this plan will do is look at future development and future.
I was just making sure, because that's different meetings that we've had and discussed that was brought up, and that was
Absolutely.
what was supposed to happen.
We're
And that
following,
is-
we're following instruction, Ivory, right the way you directed us, and it will be one of the first evaluated. Sorry, Manager.
Yeah, no, Mike said it right. This is the first task order. It's their first assignment.
Thank you. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question? And we have Gulick as well on that list for flooding over at Gulick, from Gulick.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
Mike.
we identified all the areas that we know are troubled areas.
Okay,
So, but we're going to get a deliverable, kind of like we did this, I know you know how we did the street assessment, where we assessed all the streets.
right.
And then we picked the ones that we needed to improve.
Focus on first, yeah.
Same thing on the water model. So this is the first step for the stormwater plan. We need to know what's out there, then we'll be back in front of you with the actual projects that we want you to approve and identify a funding source.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 4, please.
3.
3, excuse me.
Consider approval of street committee recommendation to change the one-way streets on Edmond Street from Haskell Boulevard to Hayes and Seminole Streets, from Monta Street to R Street to two-way streets, or take other necessary action.
Mike Stewart.
Yes. Uh-oh, I thought I had a PowerPoint ready to go for you. So this is an item that was actually put, see if we can get caught up with, this was an item that was actually put on the agenda back in March to the street committee. The Muskogee Public School System actually had come to the city and asked that we look at these one-way streets. And by the way, the Muskogee Public Schools is also the ones that requested these streets be one-wayed in the first place. But with all the additional work at Tony Getz, they've now got a different way to bring their buses through, and with the changes that they've got over at Whittier, they are now requesting that these go back to two-way streets. So what we have is we've got Tony Getz School, and again, Muskogee Public Schools request to change North Edmond between Haskell Boulevard and Hay Streets from one-way back to a two-way street. So right now, it's currently one-way to the south, and what we're going to do is just go back in with the two ways as requested. And again, this is an older picture. They now have a road that cuts between Hayes and Haskell on the west side of the school. That's where the buses are going to go. So this can go back to a two-way street. And the street committee did approve that. Over at Whittier, Seminole Street runs on the north side, and they had asked that it be one-wayed on Seminole and also Elmeda, and then we're now going to change it back to a two-way. And by the way, we didn't put the green arrows all the way down to Mana, but it will be two-way all the way down to Mana as they requested. So we're simply asking approval. This was approved at the street committee again on March 10th, and we're asking that it go back to two-way streets in these two locations. We do recommend approval, and I'll answer any of your questions if you might have them.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
Move for approval?
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of change order number 3 for EDA 43rd and 45th Street project to Roscon LLC in the amount of $6,573.75 for pavement repair or take other necessary action.
Mr. Mike Stewart.
Yeah, the 45th Street had some bad places on it after this project was complete due to the ice that we had in the winter. This was an actual an additional street that we did. If you know where 45th Street is off of Chandler, it turns back to the north. It's one block. It's a very short block and it's very narrow, and we did add it at the very tail end of that EDA project. So it didn't have any base work in on it. It was just simply an overlay, and that's why it failed. So we needed to have a plan to go in and put it back properly. That project is going to be finalized out, by the way, probably at the next council session. So anyway, this change was just to repair 45th Street, and it was for $6,575 or $573.75. I will tell you that project is all complete. The punch list has been developed, and we are going to bring a finalized item to the agenda to finalize the project, hopefully at the next session. But we do recommend approval on this, and again, this is the change order number 3 to the EDA project.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion or a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Item passes. Item number 5, please.
Discuss and consider approval of a draft bid package for mowing of all city facilities, including parkland, or take other necessary action.
And I believe we're striking this. off the agenda. So item number 6, please.
Consider approval of the preliminary and final replat of part of lots 4 and 5 in Block 1 of Texoma Business Park Addition, consisting of one lot on 2.51 acres located on the northwest corner of Toll Avenue and East Point Drive within the East Point Industrial Park, or take other necessary action.
Tish Callahan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, this is a request from True North Leasing. Randy Scott is the owner. It is a request to replat several parts of several lots into one lot. There had been previously 2 lot splits, and in order to clean up the property and the platting part of it, they have requested now to replat it into the one lot on the one block and be Texoma Business Park Addition 2. It is located there at the intersection of Toll Avenue and East Point in the East Point Industrial Park. This is the preliminary plat that was submitted. It does meet all the requirements of the subdivision regulations. And this is the final plat that then meets the requirements. Subdivision Review Committee, Planning Commission, and staff all recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tish. Any discussion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of the preliminary and final of Scott Properties Addition, consisting of one lot on 3.03 acres located at 3229 East Harris Road, or take other necessary action.
Tish Callahan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, this is a request for a preliminary and final plat. Sorry about that, Tammy. I realized that I forgot to put the plat in there. It is to allow for a residential development. Russell Scott, related to Randy Scott, so it was the Scott show for Planning Commission this morning. It is for development of new residential home on one lot, 3 acres, that give or take. It was an existing home that was located at 3229 East Harris Road. This is the location of the property. And closer view. They did submit the preliminary plat that does meet all of the subdivision regulations. And if you'll note, this is why we require in development and new developments, if it has not previously been platted, to go ahead and have a plat. We have acquired 40 feet of additional right-of-way. This will allow for any future expansion of Harris Road in the future. If not, then we have to go in and acquire right-of-way, but this allows for the expansion in the plat. It also provides the required easements. We have perimeter easements, and there was a drainage in the middle of the property that required a drainage easement that now is provided. And this is the final plat. Subdivision Review Committee, Planning Commission, and staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tish.
For approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 8, please.
Receive report on upcoming street improvement projects on Country Club Road, or take other necessary action.
Mike Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We want to just take this opportunity because there's been a lot of discussion about our street projects as we've gone through the last few months, and we've had a lot of activity on Country Club Road, and I want to kind of explain things that we have done, things that we're getting ready to do, and kind of the sequence and ordering. And Mr. Stewart will go through the details, but if you were to start at Country Club at Peak Boulevard and head north, you would have a really rough patch of road right now. This city council has already addressed that through a cooperative agreement with the county, because that's mostly a county road between Peak and Hancock, and so we do have a plan working with the county to address that section. If you get to Hancock and head further north, you would see that we have fixed from the winter storm damage most of the way to Country Club, but to Chandler, but we didn't get all the way there. You get past Chandler and keep going north, you'll notice that we fixed a lot of storm damage heading past Gibson and all the way down to York Street. And there's kind of that chunk in the middle there that didn't get done. And so people have asked me and others, and probably you guys, why that is. And the reason is we have 2 other projects going on Country Club that we hope to have work started on within the year, and we didn't want to pave it and then tear it right back up. So I'm going to let Mike explain what those projects are, kind of the details of those, and let you guys know and the public know that we do have a plan to address those areas through a couple of different projects that are already in the engineering phase.
We did have a PowerPoint ready, but I see we're having some trouble getting it loaded. So if I did lay a handout in front of you, and I'll walk you through that real quick. So on the very first page, that's just a rendering that we did. So if you're wanting to explain the project, that's a pretty good way to do it. Right in the exact middle of that is Chandler Road. So to the north, but where the mini storages are, we're going to do a drainage improvement project. That's what this project was actually developed around. And if you see that big culvert crossing there in yellow, that's actually going to be the main purpose of the whole thing. And it's of the size to allow the water to go through it that will resolve that flooding issue that we're having over there. So it's got to be a pretty good sized structure, and that's going to mean we have to raise the road up, and that's why we have to go so far back. And we're also going to put it in 3 lanes. On the south side, as we all know, there's congestion there when you have the elementary school and you have the pickup of the students and the drop-off of the students. And at times, it will actually congest enough that that we'll have problems getting the fire trucks out. We're also, it locks traffic up at times over there. So we're going to 3-lane that and try to alleviate that situation. So if you go to the next page, and if you look at the top, it actually at the very bottom of it in the label it says Civitan Drainage Country Club Road Box Culvert. The reason it says that is, I'll remind you, we borrowed money from the OWRB, and in the clean water side of it, clean water is actually stormwater as well. That's how we're funding this project. We've got $1.3 million set aside to fund it. But if you look on the very top, you'll see North Country Club Road up here. So that's how you'll identify that. So Chandler Road, if you're looking at the top of the page, is on the left. And if you'll just walk through, those are all, by the way, the utilities that are on there. And I'm going to point out that up here is where the detour will go. And you can see how the detour comes back in on the second page, or on the bottom of that page. So they'll have to build a detour road to build this project. We anticipate it to be an asphalt street. We are going to bid it both ways, asphalt and concrete. If it's asphalt, it'll be 2 layers of 3-inch asphalt with a 2-inch layer on top, or 8 inches of asphalt in total. There's also some utility work that has to be completed out there. We met what we call a plan in hand a couple of weeks ago with all the utilities, the city staff, and the engineers to discuss the project and identify any problems. Everybody seems to have their portions of it worked out, so the project is moving along. If you go to the next page, that is the south side. And if you look down at the bottom of the page, you'll actually go back to where that intersection is at Chandler again, right there where the convenience store is. And it travels to the south. And this, again, is going to be about approximately a 60-foot wide street. So it'll accommodate 3 lanes, and it'll help us relieve that congestion that we have over there. I will tell you that the timeline on this project, and we're bidding both projects together, by the way. And by the way, this is an anticipated $1.6 million project as well. So 1.3 on one side and 1.6 on the south side. This is at the point where HUB is going to deliver right-of-way documents to the city for acquisition, and that will be on August the 2nd is when we anticipate getting those, so that's only a couple of weeks away, or less than a week away, or a week away. As soon as the city acquires the right-of-way, we're hoping that we can have that done by November the 1st. And we're actually meeting with a company that does right-of-way acquisitions for us, Pinnacle. They have done quite a few projects in the past for us, and we're hoping to get that utility located, or the right-of-ways purchased by November the 1st. The utilities will be relocated, and this was with everybody present. We stated that we could do it by March 1st, and that's the utilities saying they would get that all accomplished. We would then advertise on March the 7th through the 14th. We anticipate the award date of April the 5th, and a notice to proceed of May 2nd, 2022, and that's to work around the schedule of the school. And we're trying to do these projects simultaneously. There's a little bit of a bidding issue because they have different funding sources, but we can work through that as staff. It's a great project. There will be sidewalks on the east side. We did look at the Complete Streets package that we are required to look at. We also showed this to Street Committee last week. And what I will tell you is before this project goes out to bid, I'll have the engineers come up and do a more detailed version of what this project will be for you. And answer any of your questions.
Discussion. Oh, yes, Mike.
Well, certainly we want to have questions, but the point of this is we want to make sure everybody knows what's coming, especially since there are things that may be happening with the utilities being relocated over the next few months. And so it's a project we're excited about that we can be able to do, and wanted to give an update, especially about why that one section wasn't done yet. It's going to get done, and this is how.
Mike, is this available online where the citizens can go to our .com and look at this?
We have not put the plans online now.
No, and the plans are still, that's just a quick rendering. The plans are a pretty detailed document. We can put some information on there, but if they want real document or real details, they probably ought to just call and we'll work it out with them. But
I hear more about this one little section right in here. And
Well,
a lot.
so I think we can. Well, I think to your point, we may be able to put some talking points together summarizing what we've discussed here today, and put on our webpage and our Facebook page to say, this is the project, these are the basic parameters of the project, not necessarily the engineering documents, but so people can see what's coming, right?
This is hard to explain.
No, I understand.
It'd be nice to be able to send people somewhere where they could actually lay eyes on it.
That's a good idea, and that's part of what we want to do this discussion is I want to make sure people know what's coming, and then being able to have that in a more permanent way rather than just this meeting only is a good idea.
Thank you very much.
And I think Councilor Reynolds, to add to your point, it makes perfect sense for these types of images and documents relating to streets repairs to be on the website because we have so many different types of street projects going on. Some that are emergency funding, others that are regular dedicated funding through the capital improvement plan. I think it would be of a benefit to all of our residents to have, for example, something on the website that just says streets. You know, they could click that and see all the progress, what's next, why is this gap in the middle not being covered yet.
Right.
It certainly would relieve a lot of us from trying to explain something if they can actually see what's going on and have the explanation already. So, Councilor Reynolds, I think that's a very good idea.
Greatly helps.
So, Mayor, to your point, we could take the rendering and add some bullet points down to the bottom on what's coming, because I don't think we want to get into the real detailed version because it may change.
Right. And Mr. Stewart, I think that's a better idea. The rendering would be more, people would more rather pay attention to that than to see the more detailed
then a simple
engineering work.
call so-and-so if more information is needed.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, Mike.
And so, and Mayor, your comments are well taken, and we do have a start, and we've gotten further than we have in the past on our website. Now, if you go to the front page of our website, you can see our CIP streets as they're being done, and we update that weekly. But we do have opportunities, as you mentioned, for other street projects that are not on there, and we will look to add that and beef that up. But I do think if you go to the front page of our website right now, you can see a streets under construction thing right there on the very front. And so I think it's a very good suggestion that we beef that up and add more information. So thank you. And we've gotten good direction to do that.
All right, thank you. No action is needed on that item. We recognize citizens wishing to speak, and we have one citizen signed up to speak, and it's Dr. Quintana. Please come to the mic and state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes.
Before I'd like to hand out these,
Okay.
we have a copy for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Dr. Elias Quintana. I am my address is 1705 East Highway 62, Fort Gibson. I have some grave concerns about some serious, irrefutable evidence of corruption and incompetence among the Code Inspection Department. This is supported by evidence that's been irrefuted by a world-class engineer. In fact, he's personal advisor to several presidents. He is determined, he's valedictorian at Stanford University, 3 engineering degrees, and has made these determinations that over 1,500 crimes and code violations have been committed by your building code inspector, the fire marshal, who's now the fire chief, Mr. Jones, and the electrical inspector. So I have some grave concerns. What has happened in Florida, I believe could happen here very easily. Because there's corruption, there's incompetence. It's been proven. So it's outrageous and disturbing, criminal corruption and incompetence. The building code and fire department of this city. In addition, it appears that the criminal conspiracy is being not only tolerated but protected by the city staff at the highest levels. About 4 years ago, there was a fire. The city staff from the code department performed an inspection of my property at 2701 South Cherokee, including the electrical, and found no code violations. In violation of the International Property Maintenance Code is the controlling law in this city, in this county, and most of the state. So, on 6/2018, tenants witnessed an arson. The manager adjacent to the units before the fire department arrived, because it was arson, the fire marshal, Mr. Jones, at the time was contacted. He quickly completed the rather lax investigation, but remained for many hours for no apparent reason. Ultimately, he had OG&E contacted and attempted to have the meter removed and made 15 families homeless. I brought this to the attention of Dan Hurd after in his deposition, I asked him if he knew the International Property Maintenance Code. He didn't know anything about it, which is the foundational, it's the Bible of code inspections. He didn't know about that, despite the fact he's got all these certificates from Las Vegas showing that he has some expertise in electrical, which he does not. The problem is he's not accountable to anybody else other than himself. And as we all know, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what's happened here. I could go in a lot of details. What I've given you are excerpts from the litigation that's pending right now in federal court. All our evidence is irrefuted, has not been refuted in any
Dr.
manner.
Quintana, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay. Well, anyway, the evidence is you have, and the information is there.
This concludes our Public Works meeting.
We will now call to order the special call meeting for the Muskogee City Council for today, July 19, 2021. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4126A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 2, Offenses Against Person, by adding Section 54-47, Malicious Harassment Based on Race, Color, Religion, Ancestry, Sex, Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity and Expression, national origin or disability, providing for repeal or severability, codification, and declaring an emergency, or take other necessary action.
Let me say good evening to my colleagues on tonight of the Muskogee City Council, as well as to those who are watching. This is my presentation that I would like for consideration to be approved on tonight. We live in times where it is impossible to predict what people will do or will not do in accordance to their rights as American citizens. What we have before us tonight is an ordinance that many have called the Muskogee Anti-Hate Crimes Ordinance. And let me say that when we talk about ordinances in terms of protecting our citizens, we present what is in the best interest of protecting not only one particular class of individuals, but every citizen within the city of Muskogee. As the mayor of Muskogee, when I took my oath was to be certain that we protected every individual, regardless of their party affiliation, regardless of their sexual orientation or race. It was my pleasure to take that oath of office, and it is my pleasure to continue that oath through this ordinance on tonight. Unfortunately, when we talk about hate crime legislation, some groups feel like to protect one is to cast animosity towards another. But that's not what this does on tonight. What this ordinance does when it says race, it protects every race, not just people of color, not just people of a particular demographic background, but it protects everyone who is an American in the city of Muskogee. We want to be ever so careful as we move forward that we don't create a situation where we overlook the opportunity to protect our citizens at all costs. As we consider what's going on in other larger urban cities, hateful groups were able to infiltrate those larger urban areas, quite frankly, because they were able to. What we do tonight sends a clear signal to such groups that your divisiveness is not welcome here in the city of Muskogee. That in Muskogee, we take pride and pleasure in being certain that we protect every resident, every individual, and every person, regardless of who they are or where they are from. And it is my pleasure to my colleagues on tonight to introduce this ordinance for approval, and pending any further discussion, my recommendation will be to approve.
Second. Oh,
That's fine. We have a motion and a second, but we also have two individuals who have signed up to speak to this item on tonight. The first one is Mr. Dan Chepkoskas. I will ask you to come to the podium and give us your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Dan Chepkoskas. I reside at 519 North Country Club Road. And I applaud the Council and the Mayor for trying to bring our community together and trying to address these things. As most of you who know me, I've been involved in politics at a fairly high level for over 30 years. I've seen thousands of pieces of legislation that are introduced every year that have good intentions, but they're not thought through. And as a result, that's why we have thousands of pieces of legislation introduced every year. They're not thought through. They have a lot of loopholes, and they create additional needs for additional laws, additional requirements. I would submit to you, Mr. Mayor, as you look at this, you've created an ordinance that is more divisive than inclusive. When you talk about these things, you've identified these brackets or these groups of individuals, and what we have there is a subjective opinion of why a crime would occur. I would submit to the Council that you would be better served to create an ordinance that just simply spells out all people, not classes of people. Because what happens if you get into an altercation, and maybe it's just because the person is a jerk, okay? I don't see that as a classification up there, but that jerk seems to say, well, you know, you attack me because I'm Native American. Well, you may not know I'm Native American. I mean, most people would look at me and think I'm white, but I actually am a card-carrying Cherokee Indian. So we're creating division by trying to do the right thing. So I would submit to the Council and you, Mr. Mayor, you're doing the right thing, but I think you're going about it the wrong way, and you're going to create a whole host of problems going forward. So we're all Americans. We're all of one race, the human race. And I think that that's what we need to try to band together. I was born in Muskogee, Oklahoma, at the old Muskogee General Hospital. And I know this is a good community, you've got good hearts, and you're trying to do the right thing. But we don't need to divide the community anymore. We need to try to unite the community, and we unite under one banner. We're Americans, we're Oklahomans, we're Muskogeans, and that's it. We bond under the human race banner. And so when we put out these divisions, we actually create animosity among others that's not necessary. So I would submit if you could make the revision to your ordinance and rethink it, pull it down, go back to your districts, however you want to do it, but include it in your opening remarks is exactly right. All people, all people. This will not be tolerated on anybody, regardless of anything. It's just, if you're a person that is in this community, we will not tolerate it. Draw a strong line in the sand and don't give them opportunity to subvert any kind of laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chepkoskas. Do we have any questions from the council for Mr. Chepkoskas on tonight? Thank you. The other resident signed up to speak to this item on tonight is Mr. Scott Otwell. I will invite you to the podium at this time. Give us your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Otwell, and I'm the president of Muskogee Equality. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. This is fixing a problem, not creating one. I was raised here. Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Scott Otwell, and I live at 4078 West 823 Road, Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. Apologize. We're creating a problem is not the way you stop a problem. This ordinance changes lives, saves lives. It does not harm people in any way. We are here because we were raised here. I was raised here. I was beat here. I was called an abomination here. I was ran out of homes and schools because of who I am. And I cannot stand. I will not stand, and my organization will not stand for a city that will not support us. And all you have done since I've taken over as president has accepted us and thanked us and taken our hands and told us that we will be accepted. Thank you. And you are the city we need. I would like to thank you, and I would like to bow out, please.
Thank you, Mr. Otwell. Does the council have any questions for Mr. Otwell on tonight? Hearing no questions from the council, we will now take questions from the council or comments regarding this item on tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the look that Mr. Chepkoskas has risen tonight has maybe led the way, not that we may want to take a deeper look. I believe that he's saying the same thing the second gentleman said as well. You know, we want to protect, but want to make sure that we have an ordinance that actually digs in and does that. So, you know, I don't know about others. I don't know if we're ready to take this as is or if we want to take a second look at it. I believe Mr. Chepkoskas is saying the same thing, that we definitely want to protect our people and have an ordinance that really gets down to where we need to be. That's just, you know, a thought that I might want to throw out.
Thank you, Deputy Reed. Do we have any other comments from the council on tonight?
Roy, did you pin this?
I did. Would you like me to go through it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the ordinance that is before you tonight is 4126A, and what it will do will create a new prohibition which prohibits intimidation and harassment, which is based on 10 new categories: race, color, religion, ancestry, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, national origin, and disability, which leads to either assault or battery, or assault and battery, damage or trespass to and upon real or personal property, or threats to perform either of the above. And so in order to prove that one of these things have occurred, in order to meet the requirements of this ordinance, you must prove that let's use assault, for example, that the assault occurred and that it was motivated by an intent to harass or intimidate based upon one of those 10 criteria. It additionally makes an offense to transmit any telephonic or electronic message which is likely to incite or produce imminent violence directed upon another person based upon one of those 10 classes as discussed above. It also makes it an offense to broadcast or publish or distribute any message or material which is likely to incite or produce imminent violence upon another person because of membership in one of those classes. The punishment, if found guilty, would be up to $750 or up to 60 days in jail, or both. The fine is going to be discussed in agenda item number 2. It's set by resolution. But the history of this was done from what the City of Tulsa did back in 2020. Tulsa's ordinance was a little stricter, and that's not by choice. It's because they have the ability to provide more severe punishments based on their size. So they were able to reach a $1,000 fine and a 6-month stint in prison. Because of our population, we have a municipal court not of record, which means that our maximum fine is $750 or 60 days in jail. So that's why we have reduced the fines from what Tulsa has. And so Tulsa's ordinance was based upon an expansion of the Oklahoma state law, which is in Title 21, Section 850, which included only protections for race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, and disability. And that has been on the books since the late 80s. And so what Tulsa did was expand that to include sex, gender expression, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And so the City of Oklahoma City has its own hate crime ordinance. It only protects sexual orientation. There are other cities in Oklahoma which have sexual orientation covered in their housing code for discrimination. In my opinion, that's not necessary because the Fair Housing Act covers it, and there is a whole lot more enforcement federal law than what you could do in the state. But those cities, Lindsay and Salisaw, were very proactive when they did it because the Fair Housing Act hadn't been amended yet. And so those are the only cities in the research that I did on the cities that have MuniCode, which is our online service that I could search. And so those are the ones that I found. One thing I do want to make sure is clear, we've talked a lot about McGirt, so I want to bring it up. So the ordinance will have no effect on perpetrators who are Native American for any crimes that occur within the city of Muskogee, which is, of course, partially Creek and partially Cherokee. And the reason is because those defendants who commit a crime are prosecuted in the nation's court or in federal court. So depending on the egregiousness of it, it could be charged federally, at which point it would go to federal court. But again, this ordinance wouldn't have any effect on it because that only applies to things in our municipal court. But the Muskogee Nation and the Creek Nation do not have any hate crime statutes that are different than state law. Their hate crime statutes are a reiteration of what the state has, which excludes sex, gender expression, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And so what is before you today goes beyond both what Muskogee Nation, Cherokee Nation, and the state does, but encompasses what the city of Tulsa does and other cities like it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions.
So, Mr.
Go ahead. The felony or a misdemeanor?
We don't have the ability to create felonies here in the city, so it'd just be a misdemeanor.
My question to Mr. Tucker, based on what Mr. Councilor Reed and Mr. Chepkoskas said, is there another way to say everyone without excluding anyone?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, but based upon what I've gathered, it would be it would take off this first provision and just talk about assault and battery, damage or trespass, or threats, and we already have ordinances that prohibit those. And the same with harassing telephone calls. And so, those are general intent crimes, which mean that, you intend to commit the crime without regard to the why. And so this adds another element to the why in that it is perpetrated because of the need to harass or incite based or intimidate based upon race, color, religion, ancestry, sex, sexual orientation, and things of that nature. I hope that answers the question.
It did for me. My concern is I do think we need to be targeted in our passion towards being certain that no one group is a victim because they're in that group. And at the same time, making certain that it is all inclusive of everyone, which I think it is. And I'm going to give this example when it says race. Mr. Chepkoskas identified himself as a Cherokee resident. But when I see race on here, to me that also says if you're just a white person, you cannot be targeted. That's
Right.
correct. Any race.
Right.
And in my mind, on that line alone, it covers everyone without excluding anyone, if that makes sense.
That was my point, too, Mayor. When I read it, and even though it says race, color, religion, we're talking about all. I think all is encompassed in the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I know this is a this is a hard subject here, but this is one time tonight, and please, I'm gonna be quiet. But this is one time tonight. Play like we're at council communication. Each councilman up here, I'd like to know before I say anything about this, how you feel. I can look at your faces across this room, but I don't know what's on your mind. I'd like to know how y'all feel about this right here before I take a vote. You know, I really would. Because a lot of times we come up here to council, we've got this habit of saying yes and no, but no discussion. We as councilmen, we need to be discussing something about this series, or put it off until next Monday so we can come. We got council communication luncheon this week that we'll put the item off to discuss. If we can't get it solved tonight, we need to try to get it solved this week. That's what I would say, because like I said, you know, I'd like to hear other councilors' opinions. And Mayor, you already gave your opinion. And Deputy Mayor has gave his opinion. But I'd like to hear the rest of the council's opinion up here before I say something, or vote on this tonight, or just wait till next Monday night. That's just me. I turn the floor back over to Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. To Mr. Van's point, council, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I'll give my opinion. I don't think this is divisive at all. I think if you put just, we're all Americans in there, I think that's kind of doesn't give the point of this. I mean, the fact is that people do stuff to other people based off their race, their gender identity, their sexuality, their religion. We need to stand up for these people just like we stand up for everybody else. And like you said, the language of it, when it says race, I mean, it basically includes all right here. I don't think this is divisive at all. I agree with this proposal.
I make a motion to move.
We've already got it.
Oh, let's vote.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion further from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And do we need to declare emergency?
Yes.
I move for declaring an emergency.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to declare an emergency. Further discussion from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of resolution number 2869, adopting an amendment to Appendix A of the Muskogee City Code pertaining to the schedule of fines for criminal offenses or take other necessary action.
I'm going to defer that section to Mr. Tucker for further explanation.
Thank you, Mayor. As I alluded to earlier when we talked about the ordinance, this resolution sets the fine for this offense. As I mentioned, it was $750 up to 60 days in jail. The fine portion we always include in Schedule A, and so that's what this resolution will do, is amend Schedule A to include that fine within there. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any further questions of Mr. Tucker tonight or motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 3.
Consider approval to accept the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program funds FEMA 4438 DROK for $703,125 or take other necessary action.
Ms. Callahan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the formal acceptance of the grant that was submitted to FEMA. It is through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. It is for the acquisition and demolition of structures that are located within the Meadows subdivision. This does formally accept the grant, and then we will proceed with the project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Callahan, I do have a question on that item. Does this guarantee that we can't replace structures in that area?
Yes, the mitigation program and acquisition, those properties must remain an open space. Open space could be a park, but it cannot have any structures located on the property.
And you may have said this earlier. How many structures are we removing?
This particular project is six homes.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Callahan on tonight? Or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 4.
Consider approval of the appointment of Tracy McGee to the Muskogee Tourism Authority Board to fill the expired term of Amy Love beginning August 1, 2021, and ending on July 31, 2026, or take other necessary action.
Councilor McGee.
Yes, I would like to appoint myself to the Tourism Board. I think that I would be an asset to that board.
I second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 4. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, are we recognized?
Yes, Mr. Van.
On my heart, I got to say this. I just got to say this in a nice and loving way. Don't mean anything by it. You know, Tourism Board is a very important board here in our city. It is to bring tourism here. I guess what really gets to me is when we voted about the marijuana, you know, and they had to go to the Tourism Board. And when you fill out an application with the Tourism Board, you got to put your board members on it. Okay? That's how the process works. And I don't have anything against you being on the Tourism Board, Councilman McGee. But one thing I don't understand, and I'd like you to answer this for me before I say yes or no. A while back, it was a marijuana place down on Main Street put in the application for our Tourism Board to bring this down here on Main Street, this mess we had. You remember that? And that was a bunch of mess. All the cussing and fussing, smoking and blunt, throwing out an audience. They wanted $750, I think $7,500. That's what it was. What got my attention was when I looked at the application. Your name was on it. Alan Thompson's name was on as the board members, and Councilman Reynolds here was on it as board members. And I couldn't understand that. So, y'all said it wasn't true. In other words, that 918, it falsified y'all. That was fraud. And I was just curious, how do you feel about them doing you that way? That's the question I'm asking you.
Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
I said it then and I said it before. Don't give him the money. If he's lying on his application, he doesn't get anything. So he lied.
That's all, just, same thing with Councilman Reynolds. He lied on him too, and you, and Alan Thompson. So, please, when you get on this tourism board, don't let people come up to you and play you and lie to you. And these are city funds. Something really, if they'd have done me that way, I would have to go get me a lawyer. Because to me, that it would have degraded my character. As them lying and putting my name on something I didn't have nothing to do with. That's just what I'm saying. And I don't mean no harm. I just wanted to bring that up to Councilman McGee and Councilman Reynolds. Because like I say, that man done y'all wrong. And Alan Thompson, he done y'all wrong.
He did do us wrong. He apologized, and we move on down the road. He knows not to falsify anyone's name, and I don't think we'll be seeing him come up asking tourists for any money. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Forgive and go on.
You got to forgive and go on. But please don't let it happen again. That's all I'm asking from the tourism board and you. Please don't let that happen again. Where we have to find out something like this, that somebody's falsified a person's name. That's all I say. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Reynolds. You're welcome to speak, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
I, along with Councilor McGee, went to the following tourism meeting after that, where I did address the board and made sure that they understood that we were not part of that organization, and that we would like for them to make sure that anyone who they changed their application around, I believe, or are in the process of doing so, that anyone that's included on that application or any names that are said or a part of it, they must also have their signatures on that. So in the future, Councilor McGee and I brainstormed on that, and then I addressed them. But we asked them, we made it clear that we weren't part of that. We felt we were shocked to find out that we were part of that. And then we did ask them to please make sure if people are going to add more than one name, to make sure that there are signatures from those, so those people know they're on there. And if they're not signatures of the people on there, or they're forged, then that's going to be a whole nother problem. But I believe we did address that, and the tourism board was very cooperative, and they agreed. They didn't understand kind of what they had gotten into either. But it was misrepresented, and I agree. There has been an apology, and we have moved on, and I believe that we can move on in a good way. I think Tracy McGee would be a wonderful addition to that board.
Y'all have answered my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van.
I turn the floor back over to Mr. Mayor.
Thank all of you for your comments on tonight. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 5.
Consider approval of the appointment of Jordan Brown to the Historic Preservation Commission to serve a 3-year term beginning August 1, 2021, and ending July 31, 2024, or take other necessary action.
Members of the council, this is my recommendation on tonight. Jordan Brown is a young man who has shown himself to be interested in the inner dynamics of Muskogee. I'm pleased to recommend him to the Historic Preservation Commission on tonight. One of my objectives is to be certain that young people and families are represented as much as possible on all of our boards and commissions where it is my pleasure to make the recommendation. And so I'm happy to recommend him to be on this commission on tonight, and I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may we recognize?
Yes.
I met Mr. Brown the other day at your State of the City downtown. And he's, to my knowledge and me talking to him, I think he's a very outstanding young man that would represent that board well, just in the short time that I talked to him. So I think you're all right, Mr. Brown. And thank you for coming up here tonight. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We don't have any other items on tonight, and no one else has signed up to speak. We are adjourned.